Okay, good morning everyone. So today we'll start with this 5th unit, contribution of moral thinkers and philosophers from India and world. Along with the topics of this unit, I will also cover one topic from unit 7, that is philosophical basis of property and governance. Okay, what different philosophers have to say about property and governance, this part will get completed within this unit only. I will deal with it separately also, but the major part will be completed in this unit. Okay, like what Plato, Socrates has to say about governance. So it will be covered simultaneously only. Okay. Now, see, before starting any discussion, we must also understand that why we are reading these philosophers and how these philosophers can help you to score good marks. Usually what I have seen among students is that they read so many things about this particular moral philosophy and yet they fail to apply it in exam. I mean, they don't really know that how exactly this information has to be used. Even if a direct question is there, like for example that Rawls question which came last year, that its application in Indian scenario. Okay, and yet students, they only knew the basic 2 principles, those that is also only few students knew that thing. Okay, and those who knew, even they failed to apply it in the exam. Okay, they were not able to connect it with the Indian context. Right. So we must understand that what these philosophers do. Tell me what these philosophers do. Why we read these philosophers. What they provide to us. See, all of them, like moral philosophy is a name of unit. It means all of them are talking about morality. Okay. And morality is about right and wrong. Got it? So all of them are talking about right and wrong. So what's the difference between them? So where difference comes? Difference comes in their approach towards ethics and morality. Okay, the perspectives that they provide. Somebody will say that end is a right thing, somebody will say mean is a right thing, somebody will say virtue is a right thing. Okay, so they give us different point of views in order to look at a particular thing. Okay, basically they expose us to new ideas. Okay, they increases our dimensions, and this is what is required in this paper also. I told you again and again that in section A and section B, in both parts, it is not your choices that will fetch you marks, but your justifications, your analysis, your understanding of things from multiple perspectives. Okay. So certainly, I mean, this unit is really going to help you, not only again in this paper, but also in your general life. Okay. So see, it is also very important that you people develop a positive attitude towards this unit. In the last 5 years, this is what I have seen, that students have negative attitude. They take it as a liability rather than an opportunity to read about so many great personalities. Okay, liability, array, ye moral philosophy mein kaun jayega, all these problems, so many technical terms are there, so it is such a huge problem for me. So don't take it negatively, take it positively. Only in UPSC you get the chance of reading about such things. Okay, so take it positively. Now, what are the types of questions which are coming from this unit? Okay, you must also understand this thing. First is direct questions. In class last year, one question was asked about Kautilya, one question was about rocks. So direct question are there. If you know, like see last year, many people they scored really good marks. 120, 130 marks, it was quite a common thing. Why? Because they knew about these philosophers. It is just a fact-based thing. If you know this thing, you will be able to write a good answer and you will also get good marks on it. Okay, so direct questions are there. The second type of question which is coming is quotation-based. Quotes of different philosophers, thinkers and psychologists, administrators also. These quotes are coming and you have to write the basic meaning and the relevance of that quote in present context. Okay. Now usually I have seen that students have problem in answering these quotes. See, there is a particular framework, there is a particular approach with which you should try approach such questions. What I have seen is that what you people will do, you will write the meaning of the quote. Then again in the next paragraph using different words, you will again write its meaning. You will keep on stretching the answer. Okay, one view will be presented again and again using different words. And that is completely wrong. Right. What you have to do is that in the introductory paragraph, you have to write the meaning of the quote itself. That what the philosopher is trying to convey by saying this quote. In the first 3-4 lines are more than enough to write the meaning. Okay. This is the first paragraph. In second paragraph, what you should do is that you should try to write what other philosophers have to say about this thing. Are you getting my point? Like bring in some perspectives. Like for example, if Aristotle has talked about that mean theory, that virtue lies as a mean between vicious extremes. Okay, so the same has been said by Buddha also in his middle path. Same has also been talked about by Plato also by giving the virtue of temperance. Okay, so try to provide that information in the second paragraph itself, that what other philosophers have to say about it. Counter perspective also can be written. Okay, like ahimsa has been talked about by Jainist monks. Okay, Gandhiji has talked about ahimsa. But again, in many situations, hinsa is also required. In fact, violence is the way of this world. Okay, like in Mahabharata also this thing is there, that I see no being in this world without violence. Violence is everywhere. Okay, it is in the nature of human beings. So that counter perspective can also be written. Okay, then in the third paragraph what you will write? The current relevance of that quote. That why UPSC has asked that quote. Try to think from the current perspective that why this quote came in your question paper. Okay, that thing is given, and after that you have to give 2-3 examples in order to justify your above assertions. Or you can also do that you can write examples in between only. Like the first introductory paragraph you wrote, and then you can write the example to substantiate your point. Okay, that in order to clarify the meaning of that quote, you can give example. Then what other philosophers have to say, then again one example. Counter perspective, then one more example. Okay, you can write a similar quote also. Okay, like I mean, be the change you want to see the world. Okay, so Gandhiji has said this thing, so something related to this you can write in the conclusion also, that what other philosophers have said, the similar quotes are there. Are you getting my point? So this is how you are going to resolve these quotation based questions. Meaning, other perspectives, relevance, examples. These are the 4 things that will come in quotation based questions. Got it? ठीक है चलो. Next is case studies. Okay, application of these moral philosophers in your case studies. How you will apply them? Again, as I told you, that case studies is about perspectives, it's about justifications. And these philosophers are providing you different justifications only. Like Bentham will provide you with utilitarianism. Okay, John Locke will provide you with rights approach. Aristotle, Socrates, Plato will provide you with virtue approach. In fact, all these people, Aristotle only, he will provide you with the common good approach. Cicero, Stoics, they will all provide you with a common good approach. Justice approach again has been talked about almost every philosopher, because justice is at the core of ethics. Okay, Vivekananda has its own approach. What's the approach of Vivekananda? Social interest. Not I but we. That social collectivist approach is there of Vivekananda. Gandhiji's approach of Sarvodaya through Antodaya. Okay, multiple approaches are there. So case studies. Then indirect application is also there.
Do we need to mention the philosopher's name in the case study, or just the perspective?
Just a perspective. In case studies, you can avoid writing the name of philosopher. Or maybe one or two philosophers' name can be written. There is no hard and fast rule for this thing. Okay. So, then the indirect application is also there. How you can indirectly apply different philosophers? By writing their quotations in other section A answers. Okay. Like many times, your opinion is asked. Okay, like in 2014 a question was there that what happiness means to you. Okay, now most of these ancient Western moral philosophers, they have talked about happiness only. Okay, whether it's Aristotle, Plato or Socrates, they've talked about happiness. So what you guys can do, suppose you are very much influenced by one of these philosophers. So steal his viewpoints. Okay, make his viewpoints your own. That I think that living a virtuous life can lead to true happiness. The same thing was said by Socrates and Plato also. Okay, so indirect application. In your essay also, in every essay, no matter whether it belongs to economic field or let's say social field, you can provide at least 2 paragraphs on philosophers. At least 1 page in every essay can be written from the things that we are going to discuss in the next 6 or 7 classes. Okay, so it's not only about accumulation of knowledge, it's also about optimal utilization of that knowledge. Don't just try to accumulate things, also try to use them. Maximum usage karo. Got it? Now I'll start with the main topics. Okay, first of all I will give you a very general idea about what philosophy is. See, basically this word philosophy has come from the word philosophia, which means love of wisdom. Okay, any person who seeks wisdom, his goal is not only to accumulate knowledge but also to apply that knowledge in different perspective. That is what we call philosophy. And who is the philosopher? Philosopher कौन होता है? Any person who seeks knowledge is a philosopher. Knowledge seeker. Are you getting my point? Any person who seeks knowledge. So in informal way we can say that we all are philosophers because we all seek knowledge. Okay, in Indian philosophy also this word is used, Brahman. What's the meaning of Brahman? Basically it has come from the two words Brahm and Manas. Okay, which means expanding your mind. Expand your mind. And how you can expand your mind? By knowledge only. Okay, so what do we call philosophy in Hindi? Darshan Shastra. Okay, and what is the meaning of darshan? To look things which are outside. Okay, First of all, do the darshan of what different people have to say, and then also go for dhyan. Okay, darshan basically means vision. Okay, look things from multiple perspectives. And why do we need knowledge? This is also a question. Why do we need knowledge? Why we all seek for knowledge?
That was the existence of the human being. And then what's the difference?
You can exist even without knowledge.
And then what's the difference between you and anyone if you does not have knowledge?
For progress, for truth. To understand the world. See, basically it is in the nature of human beings, because they are rational beings. And because they are rational beings, they cannot live in the chaos of unexplained events. I told you in attitude unit also that we all seek to find the reasons of things which are around us. So we human beings always have that itch to find the reasons of what is happening around them. And that is why they seek knowledge. Okay, and what is the objective of knowledge? How knowledge helps them? Prediction and control. The aim of knowledge is prediction and control. I told you this thing earlier also. Okay, prediction. If you have knowledge about something, you will be able to predict what is going to happen in future. And if you know what can be the repercussions, you will be able to control things. Okay, so philosophy is about knowledge, seeking knowledge. Okay, and why we seek knowledge? Because we need to control things which are around us, so that we can establish the cause-effect relationship between things, between events. Okay, so this is the idea. Just write 2 lines about it. Man is a rational animal. Man is a rational animal. He cannot live in the chaos of unexplained, isolated events. Unexplained, isolated events. His desire to establish cause-effect relationships and reflect upon ultimate truth motivates him to question the world, which finally gives rise to knowledge and wisdom. Okay. In fact, there is a one very important quote of Abraham Lincoln also, that the philosophy of the classroom of one generation is the philosophy of the government in the next. Philosophy of the schoolroom in one generation will be the philosophy of government in the next. Okay, everything begins as an idea only. Okay, as an abstract idea, something which seems to be very idealistic in nature. Okay, like during Greek times, the idea of democracy was very abstract. Okay, nobody would have never assumed, ever understood what democracy is at that time. Okay, I mean, it was a very elusive idea, but now it's a reality. Okay, so everything begins from idea. In fact, philosophy is the mother of all the disciplines. This is what we call, everything starts with philosophy, and then later on different branches are there. Okay. Basically, three branches are there. Okay, basically these three branches are there. Epistemology, religion, idea of God, cosmology. The first is natural philosophy. Okay, what was the name of Newton's book? जिसमें वो three principles, नाम क्या था book का? Meaning बताओ. Mathematical principles of natural philosophy. Mathematical principles of natural philosophy. So basically in the starting, even physics, chemistry and biology were part of philosophy only. Okay, and later on when these fields, a lot of research was done, so a separate discipline was carved out of philosophy. Okay, so this is natural philosophy. We study the natural, physical world, what is happening around the world. Okay, then comes moral philosophy, which studies right and wrong. And these are the four branches that we discussed in the second class itself. Okay, different dimensions of ethics. What are the four dimensions? Meta-ethics, which studies what right even mean, basic meaning of different terminologies. Descriptive ethics, come on, which studies how people act in different cultures. What are the different taboos, what are the different norms and customs in different cultures. Normative ethics, how we should act. Okay, it tries to come out with an ideal litmus test. And applied ethics, application of these different methods, different techniques in real life situations, applied ethics. Okay, and then come metaphysical philosophy. Okay, this studies the abstract, things which are beyond human realm. Okay, like epistemology. Epistemology basically means study of knowledge. The way we approach knowledge, how do we get knowledge? Like I told you, rational method is there, empirical method, inductive, deductive approach. All these things are discussed within this idea of epistemology. Then the idea of religion itself, the idea of God, which is quite abstract in nature. Cosmology is studied. What's the difference between cosmology and astronomy? Cosmology of क्या होता है discipline?
Kinds of substances and how they interact with
Astronomy.
cosmology.
Cosmology basically studies the beginning and end of universe. That is the basic core objective of cosmology. Okay, like वो जो black hole, आपका brief history of time, Stephen Hawking वगैरह का book है, theory of everything, which tries to find out how exactly this universe works. It basically comes under cosmology. Okay, so these are the things. Usually, see, what we find is that we start from philosophy and we end with physics. ये relation होता है ना, usually a linear relation established. Starts from philosophy, which is the most subjective one, and end with physics, which is the most objective one. Okay, but is this relation correct? Linear relation. Can we get complete knowledge through this linear relation? In fact, like it has also been said that philosophy is the outcome of human weakness. Philosophy is the outcome of human weakness. What do you mean by this?
Philosophy comes where we cannot explain everything.
The matters in which no rationality is there, we are not able to provide the evidence, we try to explain it through philosophy. Try to explain it through things which are beyond human realm. Okay, but it is not like that. Okay, in fact, true knowledge comes from the integration of philosophy with physics. So the relation must be circular in nature. We start with philosophy. Here comes physics, and when they get integrated, we achieve our moksha. In fact, Stephen Hawking, he also accepted the existence of God in his book. He took the name of God. Are you समझ में? Infinity. Infinity एक sign होता है ना mathematics में, and you solve many problems by using that. That's a philosophical idea, infinity, anant. Okay, and yet it is used to solve so many problems in mathematics. Are you getting my point? So, true knowledge comes from the integration of philosophy and physics. Philosophical concept था, yes. Everything starts with philosophy only. Okay, zero क्या होता है? Okay, either there is one or two. There is one tree, two tree, zero tree. देख सकते हो आप? Can you see zero tree? You cannot see zero. I mean, is there nothing in this place, in this region? There is something. जहाँ पे कुछ भी नहीं है वहाँ black matter है. Okay, can you find a place in which nothing is there? So what is zero? Zero in itself is a very philosophical type of phenomena. Okay, so integration of philosophy and physics. Okay, this is the idea. One more thing, in fact this question came in one of the state PCS, whether philosophy is a science or an art. It's a science or an art? What is science? Science क्या होता है? If tried,
This can be display of maybe as in learned through some source.
Way of reference science is based on evidence, experiments.
Okay. क्या होता है in your 11th NCERT book जो sciences हैं, it is written on the first page itself that what is science. It's a systematically organized body of knowledge and data that has been accumulated through scientific studies and human observation. Okay. So basically human observations are also included in sciences only. Now whether philosophy is a science or an art, what is an art? Art क्या होता है? Art is basically a skill in a particular field, like paints हो गया, painting हो गया, dancing हो गया. This is what art is usually about. वैसे हम arts बोल देते हैं उनको, history वगैरह को भी, but usually that thing is not there. These are all social sciences. Okay, so it is restricted to a particular field, but ethics are everywhere. In every human action, ethics is there. In fact, I told you this quote also, that there is no holiday from ethics. Everywhere ethics are. Okay, so that is why ethics belongs to behavioral sciences. How people behave with each other, the sociology hai, in fact public administration, all these things comes under behavioral sciences. And in fact sciences also are of two types. In fact you people in your disciplines must have read about it, positive sciences and normative sciences. What are positive sciences?
Just observe and describe what it is.
Haan. Positive sciences are descriptive in nature, they just describe what is happening around you. Okay, like if the apple is falling from the tree, why it is falling. So physics, chemistry, bio, they are all positive sciences. And what are normative sciences?
Whether the apple should fall or not.
Whether the apple should fall or not, norm. The word normative have come from the word norm, what should be or what ought to be. Okay, basically normative sciences try to find the ideals of human life. What are the different ideals of human life? Every human has three ideals in his life: logic, aesthetics, and ethics. Logic is truth, aesthetic is beauty, and ethics is right. What is the ultimate truth? What is the ultimate beauty? And what is the ultimate right? And you all have this idea also. होगा ना आपके दिमाग में, what is the ultimate truth? What is the ultimate right? Okay. In India, this one, Satyam Shivam Sundaram. Okay. Again, Satyam Shivam Sundaram, that truth is Shiv and Shiv is beautiful. So basically it is trying to define the ideals itself. Okay. So ethics, what is the ultimate right, is also a part of philosophy. See, I am just trying to give you a basic idea of what philosophy is, and it is not going to be, a wasteful exercise. It will help you to understand the context in which we are defining things. If we are studying ethics, why we are studying ethics? Because we have this urge of finding the ultimate right. Okay, so it is a it is a normative science. Got it? Now I'll jump to Western moral philosophy first. Okay. Two contexts are given: contribution of moral thinkers and philosophers from India and world. Okay. So first of all, Western philosophy. It can be divided into four parts. So around 22 philosophers are there in Western moral philosophy. This one, Bentham, Jeremy Bentham, John Stuart Mill and Friedrich Nietzsche. ये थोड़ा controversial type का है. नहीं. He basically belonged to moral nihilism.
Nazism, they say, somewhat twisted his philosophy.
Maybe, yes.
Concept of Superman.
Chal. So this is the basic idea. Why I am telling you this thing. So you people should understand the utility of everything. There are so many philosophers. Usually what I find is that students mix them. They are writing about Socrates and they end up writing about Plato. So these things will help you to categorize things. Like first, suppose if a question is there on Hobbes. So first of all, try to connect it with modern moral philosophy. Okay, so you will be able to remember things. It acts as a mnemonic for you. It's a heuristic for learning approach. Okay, now this is the basic idea. First of all, I'll start with ancient moral philosophy. First of all, these pre-Socratic philosophers are there. Do you know how philosophy started? How this moral philosophy started in Greece? From where they got this clique? Sophists तो बाद में आए. Reason क्या था? Why reason? What was the reason? See, basically everything started with trade. Okay, earlier all these communities, Greek communities, they were quite isolated in nature. Okay, so they had only one idea of right and wrong, and they thought that this is the only right idea. There is no other right available. But when they started trading with ship, what happened? They came in contact with other societies and other cultures. And what they saw there, that these cultures are having different idea of right and wrong. And their different idea challenged the idea of Greece. And this is which led to the development of moral philosophy. Because then they found a reference point. Then the studies were started. Are you getting my point? देखो समझो कि why this moral philosophy started in Greece. It started with trade. So this is how you can start thinking that when the Greeks began to trade, by ship, around 6th and 5th century BC, their horizons expanded, and the exposure to new customs and traditions led them to question led them to question their own moral traditions. Many thought that if a different moral code worked somewhere else, then what made their own system better? Okay, so this was the starting point. This is from where the trigger was there. This acted like a trigger. Now, pre-Socratic philosophers, all the philosophers which came before Socrates are clubbed into this thing only. And the first of these philosophers were 7 sages of Greece. Seven sages of Greece. Okay, basically Thales, Shillong, there were few of them, and Thales is regarded as the first philosopher of Greece. Okay, he is the first philosopher of Greek tradition. In fact, Aristotle has called them physicists rather than theologians. Why? Who are physicists? Because they try to explain human nature by the 5 elements. 5 elements क्या है? Air, water, earth, sky, fire. Okay, हो गए 5. Right. So they try to define the human nature, human right and wrong on the basis of these 5 elements, and that is why Aristotle has called them physicists rather than theologians. Theologians, they try to explain the nature by using religion. Okay. So Thales, I mean, these people are not very important. Separate question is not going to be there. Maybe a question can be there on pre-Socratic philosophers. Okay. So, like for example, Thales ने एक line कहा था. One quote was there of Thales that the body is the house of, first of all he said that everything is made up of water. Okay. And the body is the house of God. The body is the house of God. Okay. So, know yourself, and you are going to know the gods. Know yourself, and you are going to know the gods. Who has said the same thing in India? Vivekanand. Okay, service to man. Jiva is Shiva. In Jiva lies the Shiva. Okay. In fact, the human soul is the representative of God in human body. Right. So, I mean, Indian idea is quite similar to the viewpoint of Thales. In fact, interestingly, in India also we have these 7 sages. What we call Saptarishi. Saptarishi, who are these 7 rishis? Those who along with Manu were saved from the great deluge. Okay, वो एक मत्स्य, that story is there. That a big fish saved all of them from that great deluge. Okay, this story is there in India also. I mean, this is very interesting. It's 7 sages in Greece also and 7 sages in India also. Okay, and everything started from them only. Got it? So this is the first thing. Second philosopher in pre-Socratic idea in era can be Pythagoras. Pythagoras. Okay, the time frame is given in your booklet. Okay, one timeline is given in section A booklet. You can read the timeline from there only. Okay, now Pythagoras, what he did, he gave a very structured way of life, and he tried to explain everything with the help of numbers only. Pythagoras theorem pata hai na? Numbers. Everything was described in form of numbers. Matrix देखा है आपने? Matrix, that movie. What was there in that movie? Everything was designed in binary language. The whole world was created by using only two numbers, 0 and 1. Are you relating the idea? Numerology, you know about numerology? अभी भी चलता है. Present day numerology has come for Pythagoras only. What is the number of God? 777. In Western philosophies, number for God is 777. What's the number of evil? 666. Okay. Why 786 is auspicious? $786 को क्यों कहते हैं ना, like in Islam this number is considered lucky. वो बिल्ला नंबर 786, that Amitabh Bachchan movie also. Okay, basically it's a numerical form of Bismillah Ur-Rahman Ur-Rahim. Okay, in the name of God, who is the most beneficent and who is the merciful. Okay, numerical format है सारा का सारा. Okay, I mean he looked world in the form of a software. It's a software basically. Got it? So highly structured way of life. Everything can be arranged in a mathematical order. This was his idea. So Pythagoras, just one line. He tried to describe world. He tried to describe world in mathematical terms and relationships. In mathematical terms and relationships. He also talked about transmigration of the soul into a new body, transmigration of the soul after death into a new body, comma, human or animal. In Indian philosophy also this thing is there, that if you have done wrong deeds, you will be born as a dog or a cat. Okay, or different yoniyas are there. Got it? So Pythagoras. Then the next philosopher is Heraclitus. Okay, basically pre-Socratic philosopher and a very pessimistic kind of person. In fact, वो रोंदू type के लोग होते हैं, उस type का था. He is also called as weeping philosopher. Weeping philosopher भी बोलते हैं इनको. Pre-Socratic में ही आता है. All of them comes under pre-Socratic. Okay. So, what was his idea? He talked about the dual nature of human soul. Okay. He says that contrasting qualities, attributes are there in human soul. Like he said that human soul is made up of water and fire. Okay, in which fire is the noble part and water is the ignoble part. Water is something which wrong. And these worldly pleasure, what they do? They make our soul moist. Okay, jitna moist hoga, that fire of that life, it will go down. And there will be a moment when it will completely die. Okay, duality. He basically says that both good and bad exist within human beings. Okay, and it all depends upon the context in which we are talking about. Indian philosophy also talks about the same thing. Okay, how? Like the 4 yugas are there in Indian philosophy. What are the 4 yugas? Sat Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapar Yuga and Kali Yuga. Okay, in Sat Yuga, fight was there between different planets. There was a Rakshas Lok, Dev Lok and Manushya Lok. And these demons, monsters and gods were fighting for the human world. Thana ye stories, we have seen these stories. Okay, in Treta Yuga what happened? Fight was there between different countries. यहाँ पे आपका जो अयोध्या थी, basically fight with Lanka. Basically 2 different continents also you can say. Fight was there between continents. What happened in case of Dwapar Yuga? Fight was there within family. Family में लड़ाई हो गया, पांडव कौरवा. It basically Mahabharata is a property dispute. Property dispute था. Okay, and now in Kali Yuga what is happening? That both fight is going on within human being between good and bad. Both things are present within one human body. Okay, so this analogy has been drawn. Okay, so same thing Heraclitus has also talked about, that this thing, this good and bad is within human beings and everything depends upon the context. Okay, one thing is good for someone and bad for other. Like for example, sea water. It is not good for human drinking, but it is absolutely good for fish. Okay, so it depends upon context. Got it? Heraclitus. Dual nature of human soul. That was his idea. Just write 2 lines. He characterized all existing entities by pairs of contrary properties. By pair of contrary properties. He regarded soul as being a mixture of fire and water. Mixture of fire and water, with fire being the noble part, and water being the ignoble part. Okay, and the dry soul is best. Dry soul is best. Okay, worldly desires, worldly pleasures made our soul moist. Okay. So how do we get this purified soul? By mastering our desires over worldly affairs. This is the basic idea. This is the objective of human activities also. We must master the desire for worldly pleasures. And through this, we can keep our soul purified. We can keep our soul purified. Okay. In India, who has talked about this thing? Jainism. In Jainism, this thing is there that Jiva and Ajiva is there. And these worldly affairs, they make the Jiva, the soul, impure. Okay. So try to compare things. It will help you to remember them also. Heraclitus. Okay. And then the last one in pre-Socratic times can be Protagoras. Protagoras, and he was the first professional sophist. Okay, who was sophist? Sophists were basically, it was a group of teachers, okay, who used to teach royal class, and for that they used to take money also. Okay. Sophists belonged to the school of moral relativism. Okay, in fact they started moral relativism. And it is very important at that time, I mean the basic objective of philosophy was to try to find out certain objectives, certain virtues which can be followed by all. But in that time, sophists came up with the idea of moral relativism. Now we have already discussed moral relativism, okay, that everything is quite contextual in nature, everything depends upon time, place, person. And this is what also sophists said, that things depends upon the context. In fact, one more is there. Gorgias, he said that there are no truths, there are only arguments. There are no truths, there are only arguments. Okay. In fact, one very important statement, in fact this statement made Protagoras famous. The statement was that man is a measure of all things. A very important statement. Man is the measure of all things. It is also called as doctrine of homo mensura. Everything is measured from the context of human beings. What do we mean by this statement? This statement is very important, it can be asked as a question.
Speciesism कहते हैं, human needs पहले आता है.
हाँ, anthropocentrism बोलते हैं, humanocentrism बोलते हैं.
Speciesism.
Okay, maybe. ठीक है.
Speciesism बोलते हैं.
Okay.
Judicial argument में. Counter argument was that it's a very speciesistic point of view that.
Okay. ठीक है. Right. Okay. So, man is a measure of all things. Everything must be measured from the context of human being. If suppose killing someone is good for a human, then it is ethical. Then it is right. Okay. Like for example, culling of birds. Why culling is done? Culling होता है ना कई बार. Why culling is done? Prevent a disease. Okay. Sometimes culling is also done to control the population. Okay. It basically says, it basically assumes that because some species, they are disturbing the balance of the environment, that is why they must be culled. But based on this argument, human beings should also be culled, because they are the one who are causing maximum disturbance to the environment. Okay. So this view basically is a debate humanocentrism versus biocentrism or ecocentrism. Humanocentrism also called as anthropocentrism, or what you said, speciesism. Okay, the word comes from species word. Okay. Are you understanding? See, this dilemma is going to help you in those case studies where environment is one of the stakeholders.
The present consensus in judiciary is the doctrine of basic needs. We will kill animals only to the extent where
basic human rights can be protected, you can say.
Slaughtering of animals is justified on the doctrine of basic needs.
Basic needs. Okay. Okay, got
So
it.
this is a middle point between speciesism and
I mean, only those things which are necessary for human existence, only in that areas this principle of humo mensura must be followed, otherwise not. Okay.
Indian jurisprudence in animal rights is now
It's now recognized, certainly, yes, yes. In fact, abhi recently Ganga and Yamuna ko diya tha, I think, human rights were given to them. Okay. So, basically, sophist ka what was the idea? Idea was moral relativism, and this statement is very important, that man is a measure of all things. You can also write a critique of it. That because now this thing is happening and human desires are unending. Okay. What is happening? It is causing disturbance in the environment. Okay, but again see, sophists played a very important role in Athens. Athens, one of the cities of Greece. They prepared Athenians for democracy. Where was the first democracy established? In Athens only. In 5th century BC, first democracy of this world was established. And sophists, they prepared people for democracy. How? They taught them how to debate things. They taught them how to persuade people by the use of rhetorics. Okay. But again, Socrates was very critical to this idea. Okay. He said that sophists, they make this thing sure that wisdom is only for those people who can afford it. Okay. I mean, money should not be charged for providing wisdom, for providing knowledge to the people. Got it? So this was the basic critique also. If you want to write 1 or 2 lines, sophists were the first to deny. Sophists were the first to deny the existence of universal moral standards. They were the first to deny the existence of universal moral standards and subscribed to the view of moral relativism. They prepared Athenians, or you can say Athenian males, because only males got the right to vote. They prepared Athenian males for public life, by teaching them how to debate, through the art of rhetorics. They defined everything from the context of human beings. As humans are the supreme ends, of all activities. Okay. So basically they used to teach the royal class. Okay. This is about sophists. Got it? Maybe a 5 marker can come on it. Then came the first big personality, Socrates. In fact, he's been often regarded as the father of Western philosophy, and he is credited for making a humble beginning to the way we look moral philosophy today. He started the basic idea of philosophy. Okay, again, he was active in Athens only. Okay, and he was a critique of sophism. that why you are taking money from the people for teaching virtues to them. Okay, in fact, a very Baba kind of person. Okay, what a civil services candidate becomes after giving 3 mains. Okay, so I mean, full of knowledge. And again, his wife used to ridicule him a lot. Wife से बहुत बेइज्जती होता था. He used to drink a lot. So रात शाम को अपना लगाया और निकल गए knowledge बांटने. So that kind of personality was there. Okay. So in fact, that is why many of these sophists, they used to criticize him also. Okay, they went against the basic idea of Socrates. Okay. Now, the first thing which Socrates did, or one can say the first viewpoint of Socrates is that he gave importance to the mind over body. Okay. He divided the world in 2 categories. World of ideas, 2 categories were there. World of ideas and world of senses. Okay, just write this one line. Socrates always emphasized the importance of mind, over the relative unimportance of the human body. Okay, in fact, see, throughout Western philosophy you will find this distinction between body and mind. And in India, what distinction is there? Body and soul. Okay, so in Western idea, body and mind. In India, we have body and soul. Okay, so he gave importance to mind, and he said that philosophy must be practical in nature and it must be based on reason rather than religious doctrines. So from this we can say that he was a rationalist. He was a rationalist. Okay, in fact, everything can be understood with the help of reasons only. Right, rather than on the basis of religious doctrine, and that is why few also say that he belonged to the school of ethical universalism. Okay, he was a universalist in approach, that ethics are same for everyone. There are few sets of ethics and they are applied across all societies and cultures. They are not contextual. Okay, so he was a rationalist. Question everything. This was his idea. In fact, like sophists ke saath, what was the debate actually? Sophists used to teach them. Okay, but students were never encouraged to question those teachings. But what Socrates used to do, वो उनको encourage करता था कि question करो इनसे. Okay, ask like Brahmins in India. Pandit ji होते हैं, he just utter all those mantras and all those things happen. But we never try to understand that why all these things are happening. What is the basic meaning of that mantra? Okay, जैसे वो PK movie के अंदर था. You have seen PK movie. Okay, in that movie also basically what he was also kind of eccentric. Okay, he questioned everything which was happening. So we must try to find the reasons behind every human activity. That is what we call rationalist also. The second thing which we can write about is virtues. He was a virtue ethicist. Now what is the meaning of virtue? I told you. What is virtue? Basically those human attributes which helps a person to reach his ideals. But again, this word virtue has different meaning in different languages. Like in Latin, the meaning of virtue is hero. In Greek, the meaning is excellence. And in Sanskrit, the meaning is valor, bravery, veera, word se aata hai, virtue. Okay, so in Latin, the meaning is hero, Greek, excellence, and Sanskrit, valor. Okay, excellence, I have already told you that the objective of human life should be to excel in every field. That is, to do better than his former self. What he did yesterday, he should try to do better than that. He should not compare himself with others, but with him only. Okay, so excellence should be your goal as per Greek philosophy. Latin में hero है, you will be a hero, you will be the man if you are following virtues. Okay, and what is the first virtue for Socrates? The first virtue for Socrates is knowledge. And what is knowledge? Knowledge, एक ही line लिख लो. Socrates defined knowledge. Socrates defined knowledge as knowing what to do. As knowing what to do in certain situation. Knowing what to do in a particular situation, that is knowledge. Okay. In fact, write one more line. Socrates holds that no one knowingly does what is bad. No one, this is very important again. Socrates holds that no one knowingly does what is bad. This view is also known as moral intellectualism. इसको कहते हैं moral intellectualism. Okay, that is why he said, try to acquire as much knowledge as you can, because if you have the knowledge of everything, then you will never do anything wrong. But is it true? No. Why no? आया था question.
Knowledgeable people don't do mistakes. How far it is true?
Yes. So, see, in most circumstances, yes, knowledgeable people, they will have the understanding of their repercussions of their particular act.
Evil done by knowledgeable people. Something on these lines.
Okay, basically a debate between knowledge and integrity, that thing can be there. But can give me some examples where people have knowingly done wrong things. Ravana, okay, he knew that abducting wife of someone, it is wrong, but yet he did this thing because he was dominated by his negative emotions. Okay, Yudhishthira lied. He knew that thing, that what he was doing was wrong, and yet he lied. Allied forces in Second World War, okay, they bombarded civilian areas, they killed many people, nuclear bombs were used. Okay. Osama was created by these Western forces only. Okay, so many times people knowingly do wrong things. We all know that tax evasion is wrong, and yet we do it. Okay, so many times people know the repercussions, and yet they do the wrong things. Why? Because everything is not just based on reasons, human emotions are also there. Okay, Socrates, he forgot to take into account the important role played by emotions in human life. Okay, so he only concentrated on knowledge. In fact, Plato has also held to this view of moral intellectualism only. See, there is a lot of confusion between Socrates and Plato. Why?
There is no evidence of Socrates.
See, evidence. Yes, in fact, like Socrates was never a formal writer. Okay, जैसे ना बाबा की जहाँ बोल दिया कहीं भी जाके कुछ भी, he was never a kind of person who used to philosophize. He was more a debater kind of person, just go and start debate anywhere. So most of the knowledge that we have about Socrates is from Plato only, because Plato used Socrates as one of the character in his books. Okay, so many times this confusion is there whether that thing was said by Socrates or it was the idea of Plato which was conveyed by using the character of Socrates. Whether it's the imagination of Plato or whether these things were said actually by Socrates in his lifetime. Okay, so a lot of confusion is there, but we don't have to get into those things because most of their ideas are similar also. Both of them belong to ethical universalism and they held the view of moral intellectualism. Got it? I hope this is clear. Now, ab knowledge ka importance mil gaya. Knowledge is very important, knowing what to do in a situation, and if you know, then you will never do wrong things. Okay, but how you will acquire knowledge? Knowledge debate क्यों करोगे आप? See, stubborn people do not debate. वो कहते कि नहीं हमारा ही व्यू बड़ा है, वो औरों की सुनते ही नहीं है. See, basically again debate, I think you can say discussions. Through discussions we can get knowledge, not through debates. होता है ना विवाद और संवाद, two words are there in Hindi. Okay, in India we do vivad, we do arguments, debates, but basically what should be done? Discussions should be done, संवाद should be there. Like वो जो अकबर का था, दीन इलाही का जो इबादत खाना and all those things, their discussions used to take place, not the debates or arguments. Okay, and in order to do a discussion, a fruitful discussion, first of all you have to accept your ignorance. Are you getting my point?
This difference between being willing to listen, we call it polemics and dialectics.
Yes, but actually I am trying to avoid these technical terms because otherwise it will get very confusing for people. Try to be as simple as you can. Okay, there in exam also the evaluator who is checking your copy, I am not sure that whether he knew all these terms or not. So try to be simple. Accept your ignorance. Okay, being humble. Only when you will be humble, then only you will be able to gain knowledge. Upanishad ka, what's the meaning of Upanishad? In Indian philosophy this thing is followed. Upanishad word ka, what's the meaning? To sit near your Guru, near his feet. Why you sit near his feet? It is symbolic in nature. When you sit near the feet of someone, you accept your ignorance. Okay, why this Gurukul system was followed? Okay, why this Gurukul system? I mean, whether you belong to a royal class or you are just a poor Brahmin, all of you will come together and you will live a very simple life in Gurukul. Why? अब रॉयल क्लास से जो आ रहा है, जो the future king, so certainly I mean he will be more stubborn, but once he will start living this very normal life in a Gurukul, he will become more humble. Okay, and only when you are humble, then only you can gain knowledge. This is what I have seen among those who have given 3-4 mains. 2 mains लिखने के बाद people started thinking that they know everything and they become more stubborn. Are you getting my point? And the moment you will become stubborn, that process, I mean that intensity of acquiring knowledge, that will become low.
When you say something as he is ignorant and only wiser than others, knowing that he is ignorant, he knows nothing.
Yes.
I'm the most knowledgeable because I know nothing.
I know nothing. In fact, this is what he said also, Socrates, that I am intelligent because I know that I know nothing. Okay, I am intelligent because I know that I know nothing. Okay, so Upanishads also, Gurukul system also, I mean, they also acknowledge this idea of accepting your ignorance. Only after accepting you will become humble. Okay, intellectual empathy will come once you accept this thing, and then you will gain knowledge. If you will gain knowledge, what will happen? You will develop virtues. Other virtues will get developed. Knowledge is the first virtue. Okay, these virtues will help you to gain wisdom. And wisdom will help you to attain happiness. Okay, in fact, happiness is the final end of every human activity. Happiness has been given a lot of importance among all these virtue ethicists. Okay, whether it's Aristotle, Plato or Socrates, all of them said that happiness is the ultimate end of every human activity. Okay, that is why that question was also there in 2014, that what happiness means to you. Okay, what is happiness? One more thing. For gaining knowledge, you have to be an eccentric. This is what he said. Question the system. Eccentric. Eccentric, a person who questions everything. And this question answer format is also used in Gurukul system. Questioning by students is encouraged in Gurukul system, but not in present education system. अभी तो आप क्वेश्चन पूछोगे तो मुंह बंद करा देंगे आपका. Okay, that rote memorization चलता है अभी तो. Got it? So you have to be an eccentric. Now happiness. Now tell me what happiness is. Again, see, happiness can be defined in many different ways. Like one can also say that happiness is a positive emotion that every human being endeavors for. Okay, but as per these virtue ethicists, Aristotle, Socrates and Plato, they said that happiness is not an end, but it is an activity. Okay, it is a way of living your life. And happiness can only be achieved by living a virtuous life. Okay, they connected virtues with happiness. This is a very important idea. Okay, इसमें in fact just write few lines also. Happiness played a vital role. Happiness played a vital role in ancient moral philosophy. It can be defined in two ways. It can be defined in two ways. First, happiness is a positive feeling. Happiness is a positive feeling which is good and pleasant. It is a feeling of satisfaction, joy and contentment. Okay, and the second way in which happiness can be defined is, happiness is interpreted as an activity. Happiness is interpreted as an activity. A tendency to act, a tendency to act, or a result rather than an emotion. Rather than an emotion. Okay. Then next paragraph. All virtue ethicists, that is Socrates, Plato and Aristotle, took this second view. For them, happiness is carrying out certain activities or doing things in a certain way. They linked virtues with happiness. Virtues will lead to good life. Which will further lead to happiness. Okay, so this is a common viewpoint of all these virtue ethicists, what they had to say about happiness. Now, one thing which is said specifically by Socrates is, ये थोड़ा सा और लिख लो. As per Socrates, human beings naturally desire happiness. Happiness is obtainable and teachable through human effort. It depends not on external goods. But how we use these external goods. Happiness depends on education of desire. This was the phrase which he used. Education of desire. Put it in inverted commas. Whereby the soul learns how to harmonize its desires. The soul learns how to harmonize its desires that is moving from physical pleasures to the love of knowledge and virtue. Okay, so this was the idea. End of every human activity is happiness, and happiness can only be achieved through living a virtuous life. And living a virtuous life, what it will do? It will help you to move away from physical pleasures towards the idea of love of knowledge and virtues. In fact, happiness, एक Indian perspective भी है. Like this question was asked by Yaksha to Yudhishthira in Mahabharata. Like I told you that story, right? So Yaksha asked, what is happiness? So Yudhishthira said that happiness is a person who cooks vegetable in his house, who has no debt to pay and who is not in exile is the one who is truly happy. Okay, so he gave a very simple definition. If you are not in exile, if you are in your own house, you are cooking your own vegetables, your own food you are cooking, and you have no debt to pay, then you are truly happy. Contentment basically. So see, these ideas can be used as your personal ideas. If that question, when that question came, what happiness means to you? So I mean, you can write this idea. अब उसमें युधिष्ठिर का हटा दो नाम, अपना आइडिया बना दो उसको. Okay. So this is very simple idea if you want to write it. This question was asked by Yaksha. So he said that a person who cooks vegetables in his own house comma, who has no debt to pay and who is not in exile is truly happy. Okay. Now what Socrates has to say about governance? When will good governance will take place? कैसे होगा good governance? When everyone will lead a good life. When virtuous people would become the part of government, then good governance will be possible. So everything was attached to the idea of virtues only. Okay. So just 2 lines about governance, because this philosophical basis of property and governance, this is there in unit 7. So what he has to say about governance is, Socrates believed that a government works best when it is ruled by individuals who have the greatest ability, knowledge and virtue, and possess a complete understanding of themselves. But today's bureaucrats, are they virtuous? The first problem is that they are very stubborn. They think that they have passed this exam, now they know everything, now no more knowledge is required. Okay, and this makes them stubborn. All-knowing attitude that we discussed. Okay, new Brahmanical system of India. All-knowing attitude is there among bureaucrats. So it can be a critique also. Now how Socrates was executed? अब देखो what happened. He encouraged you to ask question from the sophist, okay, from the royalty. What happened? Many enemies were there, and finally he was arrested. Why he was arrested? Because he failed to recognize the gods of the city. He said, "Na, that question these gods also. Apollo has, Zeus has, just question them." Okay, and he was accused to corrupt the mind of youth through his ideas. उसके ऊपर intellectual corruption का charge लगा. Okay, then what happened? In fact, his execution in itself is a story. Okay, when he was executed, he got arrested. In fact, his friends, he got many admirers also. So his friends, they arranged for the escape of Socrates, but he said no to that thing. He said that I am a loyal citizen of Athens and I will abide by the rules and regulations. Okay, in fact, if I will flee away from this situation, it will be in the contradiction of my stand. Are you getting my point? So एक बहुत important phrase आता है with the life of Socrates, speaking truth to power. speaking truth to power. Are you understanding? I mean, see, I can speak truth to you. You can do the same with me. Why? Because there is no threat to life. But if you are asked to speak truth to Modi ji, okay, what will happen? He will certainly become intolerant, and there will be tweet आ जाएगा भी देखो क्या हो रहा है वो सुषमा स्वराज को नहीं छोड़ा. Okay, there are open warnings of rape, that I will rape your daughter. Such things are happening. वो अलग है. That is not for Sushma Swaraj, that Congress spokesperson. Okay, such things are happening. So speaking truth to power, that thing is very important in a democracy. Okay, Bhagat Singh ने क्या किया था? What Bhagat Singh did? You can compare his life with Socrates. Bhagat Singh also had a chance to escape after throwing that bomb in assembly. Thana, he had a chance, but he didn't. Why? Because same analogy, that if I'll escape, then it will go against my viewpoint, my stand. Okay, so he also tried to speak truth to the power. And all of them were eccentrics. Socrates was a very good example of eccentricism. Bhagat Singh was a good example. They stood by their integrity. ये जितने भी हैं, Julian Assange, आपका Edward Snowden, they were all eccentrics, and they can be compared with Socrates. Okay, so from his death also you can take many examples. This thing showed his intellectual courage.
So this Periyar is known as Socrates of South Asia. He also questioned the Brahminical system.
Yes, बिल्कुल बोल सकते हैं. अच्छा कहते हैं, he is regarded as.
यूनेस्को ने टाइटल दिया हुआ है Socrates of South Asia.
अच्छा, यूनेस्को ने. Okay, Socrates of South Asia, Periyar. Okay. He questioned Brahminical supremacy. Ambedkar को भी कहा जा सकता है Socrates. Okay. Any person who is an eccentric can be a Socrates. Okay. So this is the basic idea. Socrates. Done. But he was never a formal writer. उन्होंने कभी idea को codify नहीं किया. That was the problem. And this was done by his student Plato. In fact, Plato is the most influential philosopher of Western philosophy. Why? Because he was the one who used to theorize things. He penned down everything. In fact, after the death of Socrates, he left Athens. He wandered to few places for many years, and then he again came back to Athens and he established the first university also. First university of Europe, the Academy. The Academy was the name of that university. Okay, and again he used to give basic some information, virtue, ideas to the students themselves. Okay, but there's a difference in approach. Okay, Socrates was more practical. Okay, whereas Plato was more theoretical in nature. In fact, he also wrote a book. क्या नाम है book का Plato का? The Republic. What's a republic? Basically, you can say it's a perfect state, an ideal state ruled by a philosopher king. A republic is an ideal state ruled by a philosopher king. Okay. We have already discussed that again there is a lot of confusion between Plato and Socrates. Their ideas are quite intermixed. Okay. He belonged to ethical which school? Ethical universalism. He said that there are certain cardinal virtues which are common to all human beings. So everything that we have discussed for ethical universalism can be written here. The first most important idea which he talked about was cardinal virtues. He said that there are 4 cardinal virtues which must be there in every human being. What are they? Prudence, courage, temperance, and justice. Prudence basically means wisdom, practical wisdom you can say, or steady wisdom. Okay, he talked about these 4 cardinal virtues. Okay, see, first of all, basic idea is that his idea of soul, he gave a tripartite model of soul. Soul has 3 parts. The first part is logic or truth. Logic, not truth, you can say knowledge. This is the smallest part, in fact. Okay. The second part is emotions. And the third part is desires. Desires is the biggest part. Okay. 3. Just like in Indian philosophy we have 3 gunas. 3 gunas की बात करिए. क्या है 3 gunas? Sattva, which is also many times compared with knowledge. Rajas, again emotions. It basically talks about honor. Okay, and emotions also here we are talking about honor. And desires, tamas. Now, if you will handle your knowledge properly, what you will gain? You will gain prudence. If knowledge, if logic is taken as a part of life, then you will gain prudence. Wisdom will be gained. If emotions are handled properly, it will lead to courage. And if desires are controlled, basically they showcase temperance. And interplay of these 3 virtues leads to justice. Okay. These 3 parts also represents the 3 organs of a state. Like, who is going to be the king? King kaun hoga? The person who has this logic part, knowledge. He would be the philosopher king. 3 parts of state. Pehla hai king, philosopher king. The next part is warriors or army, you can say in simple words. Soldiers. Soldiers are the one who should have courage with them. They are the one who should fight for honor. So, emotions. And citizens are the one who will have desires. So, Western philosophy, 3 divisions were there. Okay, king, army, soldiers, and citizens. In India, how many divisions are there? 4 divisions are there. 4 varnas. Kshatriyas, Brahmins, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas and Shudras. Brahmins में कौन सा मिलेगा? सत्व. क्षत्रियास में रजस प्लस सत्वा. वैश्यास में क्या मिलता है? रजस प्लस तमस. And in Shudras we only have tamas. I hope you are understanding the comparison. What this thing? Okay, almost similar, but there is a problem with Indian Varna system. The problem is not there in Western idea. I will discuss this thing. First of all, ये tripartite model समझ आ गया ना सोल का, and tripartite model of state also. So you can write it in governance part also. Okay, just write few lines. Plato identified 4 cardinal virtues. Plato identified 4 cardinal virtues that are necessary for a happy individual and a good society. Ideal state can only be achieved by people carrying these 4 virtues. Okay. Now the first virtue is prudence. Prudence is also called as the charioteer of other virtues. Charioteer of other virtues. This quote can also come. Prudence is the charioteer of other virtues. What do we mean by this? कंट्रोल नहीं, गाइड करेंगे. कंट्रोल तो नेगेटिव कॉनोटेशन हो जाता है. बेसिकली ओनली व्हेन यू हैव विजडम देन ओनली यू विल बी एबल टू डू जस्टिस. Okay, I mean courage will go into the wrong direction if wisdom is not there, and only when you have knowledge you will be able to control your desires also. I mean knowledge, your wisdom will provide the content for other virtues. Okay, that is why it is said that wisdom is the charioteer of other virtues. In fact, the same idea was given by Socrates also. Socrates also said that knowledge is the first virtue. On the basis of knowledge only we can gain other virtues. Okay, so prudence you have understood. Then comes temperance. Temperance. What is temperance? Moderating your desires. Okay, again simple, you can write temperance is a strength. Temperance is a strength that protect against excesses. And consist self-regulation and obedience to authority. Self-regulation and obedience to authority. Then comes courage. What is courage? In some books, fortitude is also written. Instead of courage, fortitude. Not much difference is there. What is fortitude? It is a force which removes the obstacles in the path of justice. Okay. ये लिख लो. It is a force which removes the obstacles that come in the way of justice. Okay, or you can simply say it is bravery based on justice. Bravery based on justice. It also shows your willingness to sacrifice your life for others. And then finally he talked about justice. Now what is justice?
Benefits and burdens.
वो एरिस्टोटल ने बोला था. See, justice has also been defined in different ways by different philosophers. Like there were a few philosophers even before Plato who tried to define justice. Like the one was Cephalus. Cephalus, what he said, that justice is speaking truth and paying one debts. ये अलग अलग 3 perspectives हैं, ये लिख लो एक बार. Cephalus ने क्या बोला था? Justice consists in speaking the truth. Justice consists in speaking the truth and paying one's debt. Then came Polemarchus. What he said? Justice is doing good to friends and harms to enemies. Tit for tat approach. Justice is doing good to friends and harms to enemies. And then comes Thrasymachus. What he said? Might is right. Justice is the interest of stronger. It's a radical view which has been given. Justice is the interest of the stronger. And in most of the situation it is this interpretation which works. Okay. Now, how Plato has defined justice? This was given by Aristotle. Okay. Dominance by prudence, or basically he compared justice with a flawless order, which makes a person as well as a society self-consistent and good. He compared it with self-consistency. Like you say that lying is fair. There is nothing wrong in lying. Now suppose you lied to your friend and it benefited you. But later on your wife or your girlfriend lied to you. Then what will happen? Then you will say that she lied and she was wrong. So this thing shows that there is no consistency in your thought process. You are not self-consistent. Are you getting my point? So this is how Plato compared justice with self-consistency. आगे बात समझ में? ये self-consistency word था. इसको लिखो एक बार. Justice is a human virtue. Justice is a human virtue that makes a person self-consistent and good. He defined it from social context also. From social context, justice is social consciousness. Justice is social consciousness that makes a society internally harmonious and good. Internally harmonious and good. Okay, so anything in which internal harmony is there, consistency is there, then the society will have justice in it. Okay, and same goes with the individual. Internal harmony, that is the basic idea. Okay, so these are the 4 virtues that he discussed. And then in the end he also discussed about the unity of virtues. Unity of virtues. What do we mean by this? Yes. Unity of virtues क्या हुआ? All 4 come together, go together. If you have one, you have them all. All virtues come together, go together. If you have one, you have them all. How you are going to explain this thing if this question comes in exam?
Yeah, interdependent. For example, if you don't have prudence, then it's no use if you have courage or.
I mean, if wisdom is not there, you won't be able to do justice. Like terrorists, उनके पास जो होता है, like the youth who are joining these terrorist organizations, they have lot of courage in them. They have this motivation to do justice also, but they doesn't have wisdom. They doesn't know what the right thing is. So what happens? They finally end up doing injustice to people, and their courage becomes foolhardiness.
Each virtue is basically the way for the other virtue.
Yes, in fact every virtue is connected with the other one.
Use this concept in that question, that giving and taking of small gifts is okay. So या तो सारे virtues होने चाहिए या तो you don't have it.
You don't have it.
Either you have it or you don't.
This is what non-negotiable, non-selective. That is what I told you. Okay. So अगर temperance नहीं होगा, what will happen? In fact, Gandhiji ne, he said this thing, Buddha has also said this thing, that you can achieve your nirvana, achieve your wisdom only through temperance. Middle path, temperance leads to modesty. Okay, temperance, understand, you are able to control your desires. And only when you will be able to control your desires, you will be able to achieve wisdom. Without that, how you can achieve it? Okay. And desires control होगा, then greed will be controlled, envy will be controlled. सारे relations है, कोई भी relation उठाओ, like courage and justice. Okay, courage नहीं होगा तो how you will go for justice? How you will go against the flow? Okay. So if this question is there, then please try to give more and more example to establish relations between these 4 virtues. Got this thing? This question can also come that what in your opinion should be the virtues of a civil servant? So आपके opinion में क्या होने चाहिए? Again, you can steal the idea of Plato, that these 4 cardinal virtues can be there, but अपना भी add up करो कुछ थोड़ा सा. Okay. हाँ, उसके अलावा लिखो थोड़े से 3-4 लिखो, like integrity. Apart from these 4 cardinal virtues, what other virtues must be there? The first is integrity. Integrity is a core value which includes what? Honesty, unbiasedness, trustworthiness. All these things comes under integrity only. Then respect. Second virtue is respect. Respect, basic general respect in nature. It's a core value which in itself includes other values of empathy and compassion. Dignity, empathy, compassion, tolerance, all these things will come under respect only. Okay. Then responsibility. Responsibility includes dedication and accountability. Okay. So, apart from those 4 virtues, these 3 more virtues can be added to the list for a civil servant or for a common man also. Right. So we have discussed unity of virtues and what other virtues are required. One last small thing is governance. What he has to say about governance. Okay. See, basically, in order to define governance, he came up with the idea of harmonious functioning. What is harmonious functioning? He compared the state with a healthy organism. An organism in which different organs, they work for the overall good of the body, and the overall body works for different organs. Parts serves the whole and whole serves the parts. This is the basic idea. Okay, harmonious, I'll explain it more, just take a line likho. His model of a just state, his model of the just state was that of a healthy organism. Healthy organism, comma, where all the parts function for the benefit of the whole, and the whole benefits the parts. He came up with the model of harmonious functioning. He came up with a model of harmonious functioning which is based on 3 principles. Or you can say which has 3 components. क्या है वो 3 component? The first is teamwork. Teamwork. What is teamwork? That every person will perform his own work and will not interfere in the work of others. ये teamwork है आपका. Performing one's own function properly without interfering into the functions of others. Sticking to your own role. How you can compare it with Indian system? Varna system भी तो यही कहता है कि you have teamwork needs to be there. Every person should stick to his own role. Shudras to stick to service, Vaishyas to trading, Kshatriyas for defending the nation, and Brahmins for the knowledge. They should stick to their function. Do not interfere. Otherwise, problems will come. So to some extent one can say that it is justifying Varna system. But what is the problem with Varna system? The problem is that these 4 Varnas are arranged in hierarchical orders. Whereas in case of Plato, hierarchy is not there, equality is there. In fact, this is the second component, that is equality. Okay, which means treating all people equally, on the basis of fairness and justice. On the basis of fairness and justice. And it was this thing which was absent in Indian Varna system. Hierarchical arrangement was there. See, basically there is a logic also which was given for this hierarchical arrangement, that it will motivate a person to move towards the higher Varna. Are you getting my point? Movement tha. And this inter-Varna mobility is allowed in Hindu religion. Okay, mobility hai. I mean, see, these 3 gunas, they do not depend upon the place of birth. It is completely natural in nature, and a person with higher tamas guna can be born in a family of Brahmin. And then depending upon his education, he will enter any of the 4 Varnas. If he has not acquired knowledge, he will enter the Varna of Shudra. Like for example, if I am a Vaishya, okay, if I start teaching, then I will enter the Varna of Brahman. If a Kshatriya, he starts working, he starts servicing other people, he will become a Shudra. And these are all just labels. Inke saath nothing good and bad is attached to them, they are just labels of a person. Okay. So this was the idea, but in case of Plato, in case of Western ideas, equality principle came in. Okay. And the third component is leadership. Leadership or headship. Basically, organizing group activities and seeing that they happen. You getting my point? Like the society will accept a leader, that he is basically, one can say that we are all equal, जैसे communism में है, सब equal है, there is no government required. यही बात होता है ना communism में. But actually, in order to organize group activities, a leader is required. Okay. India में, Indian philosophy में, this leader, this king has a divine origin. Okay, God has created the king. But in case of Western ideas, basically king comes from downwards. If he is knowledgeable, if he has merit, he will become the king. Okay, so leadership is there. See, you can use this thing in different, in governance process of India also. In India now what is happening? Different components are there. Judiciary, executive, legislature, and now what is happening? They are interfering in each other's work. And this is leading to problems in society. Clear-cut function ho and they all perform their own role properly, then no problem will come. Okay, so this was the idea of Plato on governance. A proper 10 marker can come on this thing. Okay.
This is what they mean when they say that philosophical basis of property.
हाँ, यहीं से होगा. That is why I said that this maximum part of this philosophical basis will be covered along with these philosophers only. सब आएगा, don't worry. Okay, चलो, that will be all for today. Thank you.